You know that feeling when you just stumble upon a group of people who really get you, even if they're totally not what you expected.
Exactly.
Well, today we're diving deep into a story that just captures that feeling perfectly in a standalone fantasy novel, The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune.
Hmm.
Just picture this. Well, a pretty ordinary guy suddenly gets handed this mission. It's really going to pull at your heartstrings. And maybe, just maybe, make you believe in a little bit of magic.
Yeah, definitely. And we've really gone through what you, our listeners, have been sharing, those really heartfelt book reviews,
Hmm.
just full of love for the characters.
Yeah.
And also those fascinating online discussions, picking apart all the layers, and even an academic piece looking at how the book handles the whole idea of otherness.
Right.
So our goal today, it isn't just to retell the plot. We want to uncover that emotional heart, the messages that have made so many people fall in love with this book.
And honestly, if you love stories about found families, finding your people in weird places, or, stories that tackle prejudice but with real warmth and humor,
This is for you.
this is so for you. Or even if you just want characters you'll genuinely care about, get ready for some of those, like, moments. We're going to explore how this seemingly simple story kind of gently nudges you to see people differently and the power of just connecting.
And we even looked a bit into how the author's own experiences might have shaped the themes of inclusivity in the book.
Which is fascinating in itself. So, ready? Let's jump in.
Okay, so we start with Linus Baker. He's a caseworker, pretty quiet, works for the department in charge of magical youth, DRME for short.
Right, big yarring.
And his life is just routine, small house, very neat records, a cat who seems slightly judging,
Always.
always. But this predictable little world gets completely shaken up when he gets this new assignment. Top secret. Highly classified.
And it's such a fascinating assignment. Linus gets sent off to this remote place, the Marcius Island Orphanage, his job, to assess 6 children who've been labeled dangerous.
Just because they're magical.
Exactly. And what a group. You've got a gnome who loves gardening, a sprite who's like totally connected to the island, a young wyvern obsessed with shiny things, this unidentifiable green blob, a whir Pomeranian.
Yes, really.
The whir Pomeranian.
And maybe the most startling one, a 6-year-old boy named Lucy, who happens to be the Antichrist.
Just casually the Antichrist.
Right. Talk about intriguing.
And what jumps out right away is the prejudice, just baked into the whole system. I mean, the fact that DCOMI even exists, this department's set up just to segregate magical kids, it tells you a lot about the world they live in. Full of fear, misunderstanding.
Oh, absolutely. That word dangerous just hangs over everything, doesn't it? It creates this instant tension. It does. And the academic piece we looked at, it kind of reminded us that this fear isn't entirely out of nowhere in their world. There's hints of a history where magical beings were, well, actively hunted.
Yeah, that adds another layer. And Linus, when he first starts, he really embodies that whole societal fear, that need for separation. He's all about the rules, the regulations.
He's a rule follower.
Completely. Diakomi says keep normal and magical apart, and that's his mindset. So this secret mission, throwing him right into the middle of these kids' lives, you can already see it's going to challenge everything he thought he knew.
So Linus gets to Marcius Island, and immediately you see this huge gap between the scary descriptions from Diakomi and, well, the reality.
It's night and day, isn't it?
Totally. These supposedly dangerous children, they're not monsters. They're just
Yeah.
individuals. They have their own personalities, their own quirks, and they clearly adore each other.
Mm.
And they're looked after, really fiercely protected by their caretaker, Arthur Parnassus, and this wonderful island sprite, Zoe Chapelwhite.
And that's where the real heart of the story starts to beat, I think. Those book reviews we read, they all talked about the beauty of this found family.
Yes, that theme is so strong.
And you see it right away. These kids, Arthur, Zoe, they shouldn't fit together on paper, maybe, but they've created this incredibly real, supportive family unit. Zoe's so protective. And Arthur, his quiet dedication just creates this safe space for them.
It really does. It makes you stop and think, what actually makes a family? Is it blood or is it this bond?
Yeah. And watching Linus, it's fascinating. You see him slowly letting go of his own assumptions. These little interactions chip away at his worldview.
Like, remember with Theodore, the wyvern. Linus keeps calling him it at first. It's automatic.
Right. Conditioned response.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he has to consciously correct himself, force himself to use he, or with Talia, the gnome. He just sees her as, part of the garden at first.
Like a statue or something. He doesn't see her personhood.
Precisely. These small moments, they seem small, but they show how deep biases can run and how much conscious effort it takes to actually see the individual in front of you.
Those early scenes are so revealing. When Talia gets upset about being called a strange statue, Linus's response is so clinical. You're a gnome.
Missing the point entirely.
Completely misses the emotional reality of it. But it's through things like that, these little moments that don't quite fit his rule book, that he starts to doubt those neat little boxes Dichotomy put everyone in.
Which leads us right into those big themes, the prejudice, the othering, that the book handles so well. You really feel the fear coming from the mainland village towards anyone magical.
It's palpable, even in brief interactions.
And that academic analysis we mentioned, it gave us some really useful ways to think about how that othering happens.
Yeah, it was really insightful. It pointed out specific language choices, didn't it?
It did, like how characters sometimes use pronouns like they or these things when talking about the magical children. It just creates distance. It dehumanizes them a bit.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And then you have the names the villagers use. Freak, abomination, creature, words that just strip away their identity and pile on stereotypes.
Yeah.
It makes you really aware of how powerful language can be, for good or bad.
And it's not just individual prejudice. The analysis highlighted how institutional power, dichotomy itself, actively keeps this fear going.
Oh yeah, those posters.
Exactly. Those see something, say something, posters Linus sees everywhere.
Grapey.
They seem maybe harmless on the surface, but the analysis made a great point. They basically encourage suspicion. They reinforce this idea that magical beings are different, maybe dangerous, just for existing. Look at them with distrust.
And those posters are everywhere. It's like this constant background hum of fear. Then there's Lucy, the Antichrist.
Right.
The level of fear around what he could become, it's huge. But then you see him, and he's mostly just a curious, sometimes cheeky 6-year-old kid.
Who happens to have immense power.
True, but the fear often seems completely disconnected from the actual child. It really shows how easily we project fear onto things or people we don't understand.
And that academic angle really drove home how language doesn't just describe things, it helps create the reality. By constantly using certain words, framing magical people as different, as threats. Dichotomy and the society basically build and maintain these, what the paper called discriminatory discourses.
Right. It's systemic, not just one person being biased, but the whole way of thinking and talking reinforces it.
Exactly.
But, while the book is tackling these really big, important themes, it's also just incredibly moving on a personal level.
Oh, definitely.
Without giving away any major spoilers, you see this connection growing between Linus and Arthur. It's so gentle.
So tender. One review called it a super soft and subtle, slow burn romance.
That's perfect. That's exactly what it is. It's a really beautiful part of the story, adds this warmth, but it never, overshadows the main thing, which is the family.
No, it complements it. And there are definitely secrets, aren't there? Things Arthur and the island itself are hiding.
In trees.
Adds a layer of mystery. Arthur's own true nature, for instance. It hints at these powerful ideas, maybe resilience, rebirth.
Which kind of mirrors Linus's own journey in a way.
It does. You have to wonder, what could that secret be?
And Linus's transformation is really the core, isn't it? He starts out so rigid, so defined by the rules, by dichotomy.
Buttoned up.
Totally buttoned up, but being on the island, getting to know the kids, connecting with Arthur, he starts to question everything. His loyalty to the rules slowly shifts towards empathy and eventually, this quiet, powerful defiance.
It feels so earned. You root for him so much on that journey.
You really do. And the emotional impact is just, wow. There are moments that are pure sunshine, just heartwarming connection between Linus and these kids. You can't help but smile.
But then there are moments where you really feel that sting of prejudice, how unfair it all is.
Yeah. It's a whole tapestry, isn't it? Joy, sadness, fear, but ultimately, hope. Watching Linus find himself and find this love for this incredible, unique family.
Which brings us right back to that central message, doesn't it? The power of just basic kindness, acceptance.
Yes. At its heart, I think the house in the Cerulean Sea is about empathy, about accepting people for who they are without making them, justify why they deserve to exist.
In this found family, they are actively defying a world that says they're unworthy, just by living. By loving each other. It shows how powerful that unconditional love can be.
Makes you think about people in your own life, maybe, who just need that kind of acceptance, no questions asked.
And the author, TJ Klune, has talked about diversity and inclusion. And you can really feel how his own perspective seems to inform these themes. the importance of stories like this.
It feels authentic. And something else I thought was interesting, how the book kind of redefines masculinity a bit through Linus and Arthur.
That's a great point.
Their strength isn't aggression or being stoic. It's empathy, vulnerability, caring for others. Arthur's nurturing side, Linus learning to be emotionally open. It's really refreshing.
A much-needed portrayal. So, as the story moves towards its end again, no spoilers, you do see things start to shift between the island and the mainland. Hints of positive change, maybe a little bit of hope spreading.
Yeah, it doesn't tie everything up in a perfect bow, maybe, but there's definitely hope. That review we mentioned, called the book, basically happiness in book format.
And it really feels like that sometimes. Who doesn't need a bit of that?
Exactly. And I think that feeling, that hopefulness, is why it connects with so many readers. It taps into something fundamental, that need for connection, for belonging.
It's a reminder that sometimes the kindest thing, maybe even the most radical thing, is just to be kind, to accept people who seem different.
So wrapping up our deep dive today, we've touched on found family, the dangers of prejudice and how it's constructed, why it's so important to question authority sometimes, and just the incredible power of love and acceptance.
Themes that really stick with you long after you finish reading.
For sure. Which kind of leaves you wondering, right? After hearing about the house in the Cerulean Sea, what does it make you think about your own views? Are there maybe biases the story makes you want to examine a little closer?
And how do stories like this actually help us build more empathy, maybe understand the world around us a bit better?
We really, really encourage you to read it if you haven't, or listen to the audiobook. That review highly recommended it too. Experience that emotional richness for yourself.
Absolutely. And check out other reviews, discussions online. There's so much to unpack in this book. It's pretty special.
It really is. And maybe we can leave you with this final thought. What does home really mean? Is it just a place? Or is it maybe that unlikely group of people who make you feel, truly feel like you belong?
Worth considering. Where do you find your own Cerulean Sea? Your own unexpected family?